Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to be breaking down pretty much most of the update in terms of balance changes. In terms of Sprout's remodel, we're going to be looking at Buffies, looking at balance changes which were changed, removed, and added as well. So we're going into that a little bit later on. So make sure you guys subscribe, because there's no better place on YouTube than here for balance change, for meta breakdowns. This is by far the best channel for it. So let's jump into this then. So Sprout, you can see he got a remodel. I love Sprout, but unfortunately they had to remodel Sprout because of a lawsuit. I don't understand how it copied the firm. Again, there's multiple videos on this. You can search it up on social media, but unfortunately it looked like an air purifier from France, which it didn't really look that much like. So they've added these seeds onto his backpack. They've made him more square. So what they've also said is that the pins will be reworked, and I think in a couple of updates time, so you've got to wait for that. There's also been a few changes to some skins. Tropical Sprout is still the same at the moment, but Corrupted Sprout is the main one that has changed, so that looks very, very different in terms of, again, it looks like a flipping box. It looks like a lunch box, and then obviously you've got True Gold and True Silver Sprout changing. So also that is a good segue to Sprout and some changes that he got. So Sprout, just as we're on the topic of him, he received a couple of buffs. So the first one is with his reload speed. His reload speed is getting a 12% buff. So this is going to feel really nice for Sprout, because Sprout has been a brawler that hasn't even been a good last pick in the meta for a long time. He's not even been a good option in Knockout, where he used to always be very, very strong on. And his main attack damage has received a 6% buff as well. So will this make Sprout broken? Nope. Will it make him back into the meta? Yeah, he will absolutely be a good last pick again in Bounty and Knockout. So he got a little bit of, I would not really love with a rework, but he looks a little bit cuter. He's got some nice buffs. So you'll be able to play Sprout again, especially with this nice remodel. So now I'm going to be going through the Buffies. Normally go through balance changes, but because most people know most of the balance changes pretty much, I'm going to go through Buffies first and foremost. So first off, we've got Rocket Laces. So Rocket Laces, of course, pretty much every brawler that gets a Buffy, their gadgets normally are, well, not throwable, but you can just more movable. But Brock with Rocket Laces, essentially, if he hits somebody with his jump, I think if it works even here as well. Yeah, so if it hits there, you can see the Buffy gives you a movement speed boost for 2 seconds, which we know from Brawl Talk, but it's going to help Brock out a little bit, especially just trying to escape those brawlers that are normally chasing him down. Is it going to be anything crazy? Probably not, but it's a nice addition. Again, it's not going to be anything crazy, but yeah, I mean, it feels all right. So now moving on to gadget number 2, which is Rocket Fuel. So Rocket Fuel, it now splits off, I think, 4 additional rockets, which deal 75% of the damage. So you see here, we'll fire it against this bot, and it'll deal quite a lot of damage. That is 4k damage at least with one gadget, which is pretty hefty. I'm also using a gadget charge gear while showing this, just so I can show you guys the interactions a lot quicker. But this seems like a really strong gadget, because I'll show you guys literally in 3 seconds time, you'll be able to just fly it through the walls. So obviously you normally use it to break open a wall, and then more rockets will fly out from it. You see the amount of damage that deals? That is pretty good, especially if someone's standing behind a wall and uses rocket fuel. You can deal quite a bit of damage. So I anticipate this gadget being very, very strong in my opinion. It could actually potentially be broken. I don't like to use that word too frequently, but like, again, here, use it against an enemy. It can deal a lot of damage. So yeah, this is a very, very good gadget. So on top of the Buffies that Brock is getting, now we're moving on to his super. So you got the Star Power that gives you an additional, so the Star Power, more rockets, still fires out more rockets. But what has changed about Brock, it's no longer fixed with his super. Now, depending on where you move, you can drag the super down. So for example here, I'm moving downwards, the super is moving downwards with me. So you can actually follow and trace an enemy, which I think, by the way, is going to be completely done broken. I think Brock probably will be the best brawler in the game because of this. I mean, you might not think it, but you'll just be able to chase brawlers down with ease. Again, I've tested it against like other YouTubers, and it was so strong. Like, I was just deleting everybody on the map. So I think that itself is going to be very broken. But when you pair it with more rockets for Star Power, you get a 30% movement speed boost whilst your super is going out. So you're just able to chase down players so much easier. You're able to track them. I think it's such a big buff. People will miss the old Brock super because there was a little bit of skill towards it, but it was a little bit frustrating, especially when you just, I don't know, miss it by just a hair. Now you can just chase people down. Again, I don't think this is going to be completely done broken. So now moving over to 4th rocket. As you can see here, every 4 seconds, Brock can fire off a longer shot. So it doesn't matter if you're at full ammo or at 1 ammo, which is really nice about it. You can shoot off a much longer attack. So there's positives and negatives to this. The biggest positive, you get more range, but Brock's rocket is very slow. But I think the big positive about it will just be keeping enemies back. Like, that's just one of the really big positives about Brock in bounty and knockout, especially in a lane. It's just really hard to push into a Brock, right? Because he just has a really large rocket. But now with this extra range, it's going to be even more toxic to poke at players. I think it also could be great on like Heist, for example. So yeah, I think there are some really good implications for this. I don't think it's going to be completely broken, but just imagine if you're like on a map like Safe Zone or Kaboom Canyon and you could just poke chip at the safe at a far distance. I think it could have some use cases. So now moving on to the hypercharge Buffy. So the hypercharge itself for Brock does feel a little bit better just because you can move around with it. So it'll be interesting to see whether people actually use his hypercharge super. But with Brock's hypercharge itself, the hypercharge Buffy could be very, very interesting. So once I re-earn this in a second, with his main attack, it fires off more rockets with it, which can deal a lot of damage. And it also pairs with this star power. So see here, look at the range on that. It can deal a lot of damage. Like, look at me just spam through this. I'm dealing so much damage here with those extra rockets. So again, people don't really like using Brock's hypercharge super. I feel like people might just literally just use it for the main attack, which is just crazy. So yeah, I think Brock's going to be very good in the meta. I anticipating him being S-tier. So now moving on to 8-bits Buffies, and 8-bits Buffies are probably the ones that everyone's most excited for. After looking at social media, everyone thinks that 8-bit is going to be very strong, and I'm also one of those people that think 8-bit is definitely going to be S-tier. So first one is with his extra credits. So if you didn't know, with extra credits, I saw in a Brawl talk, so you can fire off an attack and then you can fire off the extra credits, which you can see here also bounces off opponents. But it does 75% of the damage that it was originally supposed to do. But that's just still crazy. Just think of it, it's like Shocky, for example, on Jesse's star power. In Heist, I think that can be very toxic. It will stop people from grouping up. It's literally Bell's main attack. Again, I can fire off like one attack to someone down there, then I can just quickly fire off his extra credits. Just look at the amount of damage, and I think it's going to be a very underrated gadget. I think they've really done this one well. I'm excited for this one. So next up, we've got Cheat Cartridge. I should have just done this one first. But anyways, we've got Cheat Cartridge. And with Cheat Cartridge, well, 8-bit and his turret will heal for 3,600, which is great. Especially because Cheat Cartridge is normally the go-to one. But now, if your turret's a little bit low, and normally, you know, your turret is going to be low for the most part, in my opinion, especially with 8-bit, and especially if, you know, you're looking to go aggressive. So in like, I don't know, Heist or any type of situation like that, you can just teleport back. You and your turret are going to be topped up. So it's just another bit of survivability. It's just going to be even more annoying to deal with 8-bit now. So now moving on to 8-bit star power Buffy, starting off with boosted booster. So this one is kind of broken. So as you can see, with every 3 seconds, you drop a little ammo pill. And if you pick up that ammo pill, you will reload 1 ammo up automatically. You and your teammates can pick this up as well. Every 3 seconds, it's kind of crazy. 3 seconds is a bit overkill in my opinion. And especially because these ammo pills can last 8 seconds on the ground as well. 8-bit's going to have unlimited ammo. Imagine this with extra credits. Boosted booster is, in my opinion, and always has been the better star power. I mean, the other star power is good into bad matchups. Boosted booster just deals so much damage. So you imagine more damage, more ammo for you and your teammates. It's a big radius as well. So if you stay in and around, like you do, like the biggest downside is that you do have to run over, especially if you're 8-bit and pick this up. You're very slow. But I just think there's so much utility to this. It's insane. I think it's one of the best ones. All right, guys, jumping into star power number 2, Buffy, which is going to be, I forgot what it's called now, the second star power. Anyways, it gives you, well, it gives your teammates a 15% speed boost when they're in the area of it. So, of course, that's going to be very strong. It's literally a Stu speed zone turret when you think about it, which, again, just gives 8-bit so much versatility. So, for DMs dies here, my teammates can respawn. I'm going to just go back here. And my teammates, I'm going to pop this here. They get a 15% movement speed boost, which is just absolutely crazy in my opinion. That's just going to allow for a lot of, I don't know, imagine again, like back in the day, 8-bit used to be very strong on a map like back at Brawl, a very passive map. You and your teammates can just sit behind a wall. And imagine, like, if the turret ever goes weak, I can just gadget back, heal it up to full pretty much. It's going to be very hard and very annoying to deal with 8-bit, especially trying to take down his turret. I can see this being pretty toxic. And lastly, we have 8-bit's hyper Buffy. So 8-bit's hyper Buffy, people did, I don't know if they overreacted, but it seems pretty powerful. At the first glimpses, he looks very, very strong, right? So with his hyper Buffy, essentially, you have unlimited ammo. You can just keep changing where he attacks, which is just completely broken. If you just want to pick the same target, literally can. He has unlimited ammo. I mean, you pair this anyways with his boosted booster. Just look at the amount of damage that he can rack up. That is just absolutely hilarious. But yeah, I think it's very strong just because, again, you can easily dictate where you're shooting. So again, we get this hypercharge here. You can, like, say if someone's around there, oh, if someone's coming this way, you can just keep spamming the ammo. You have to keep, like, flicking it, of course, which is going to be a little bit annoying. But yeah, I think actually changing your ammo, it's not, I mean, changing the where you're shooting isn't going to be like the most broken thing. I guess it will be once you've fully killed someone down this right hand side, and then you can fully kill someone. I don't think like spraying it around like I was is really that good, because it won't actually do much damage. But yeah, this hypercharge has crazy potential. So after looking at all the buffies, I think 8-bit's easily going to be S tier, in my opinion. I think both of these gadgets are going to be very, very useful. I feel like cheat cartridge still might be the go-to, but extra credits definitely might have some use case. I think both of these start power buffies are really, really strong. I think boosted booster might be that little bit better because of how fast it gives you and your teammates ammo. Yeah, I just think 8-bit's going to be insane. So now moving over to Rico's buffies, and I think a lot of people are glad that Rico's buffies aren't that strong because he had potential to be very, very strong. So what we've done with the first gadget, I mean, it's pretty cool how you can throw it and bounce your main attack off it. So you can just make like another wall. Of course, Rico loves it when there's walls. But I don't know, I feel like, again, after using this a few times against real players, it didn't seem to complete the strongest, but that was, again, like some time ago. But anyways, in terms of Rico's multiple launcher, when you pop this gadget, so a new one, I mean, it only pops when someone shoots it. That's, again, like a big downside. It just could not shoot it, and it just never will do damage. So that's the biggest downside to it. But if the positive is that you could literally just get a new one, and look at the amount of balls it sprayed out. Like, it can deal 10k damage to an enemy, which is very, very strong. Again, it's throwable. I think one positive is that you just can't just spam this gadget whenever you need to. Like, you still need to build it up. Like, you need to shoot this multiple launcher to build up more balls. So literally here, I haven't shot it once to see how many it sprays out in comparison to last time. It's not really a lot of damage. But now, if I shoot it quite a few times, I think you need to shoot it with like at least 3 or 4 pieces of ammo from what I've learned. It would deal like a ton of damage. So again, I'm interested to see how it plays out. I think people will be able to play around it, and I'm a little bit disappointed. Again, I didn't like this gadget to begin with because it's just very spammy, but I can imagine maybe if an Edgar's jumping on you, if you just literally camp on top of it, the Edgar probably will still die just by look at the amount of damage that it can deal. But I don't think an Edgar will be that stupid, right? I don't know. This gadget feels like it's going to be good, but yeah, this next one isn't going to be great. Now moving on to gadget number 2, Bouncy Castle. I'm just going to say straight away, I don't like to hate on Superset, but I hate this gadget. I really don't like this gadget whatsoever. So this gadget, it can split against the wall and deal some extra free. Like, it's just terrible. Like, when you think about it, so this is the problem with Rico, is that he's very squishy. He has his clear counters anyway when he's really strong. People tend to overreact a lot when Rico is meta because assassins can still counter him for the most part. I mean, maybe in his prime it was pretty hard to deal with him, but like this just doesn't really do any damage. Like, look at this when it pierces through. Like, what even is this gadget? It's terrible. His Bouncy Castle, so the biggest problem is that Bouncy Castle got removed, so his healing ability got removed. And now, you know, throwers, for example, in Bell's Rock, you could use the healing gadget and you could tank a few of those thrower shots and then push up. Now you're just as squishy as anything. You've got no way to defend yourself against true counters. So that's why I believe Rico will actually be worse after this update. So now moving on to star power number 1, Super Bouncy. So with Super Bouncy, you get a 10% increase in the supercharge when you deal damage from Super Bouncy star power. When you literally bounce it off a wall, which can lead to some good clips, especially with your super. You can farm supers a little bit easier, but I don't think this is a very impactful buffy. So this is like 3 buffies now, which don't really seem that great with Rico. Yeah, I'm just not impressed. And then moving on to the second star power, Robo Retreat. So Robo Retreat, normally you get a 40% speed boost when you're, I think, around, I can't remember the threshold, but it will kick in pretty soon, I imagine. So yeah, it's already kicked in now. But with the buffy itself, you only get the additional 20% movement speed when you're at 10% health. So you think about it, you have to be at 600 health to get, I mean, you are very fast. Like, I feel like it will be very annoying to deal with and very hard to kill. But at the same time, you are 500 health. You are 500 health. And the one thing that you could do with the old Robo Retreat is, you know, you could be very annoying. You could maybe get a kill. And then you could pop Bouncy Castle, fully heal up, and then you'll be good to go. But now, you're kind of just stuck trying to get a lot of value out of it. I mean, I could eat my words here. I don't know whether he'll be completely worse after the buff. It's like, surely he's got to be a little bit better. But a lot of things about his kit just don't feel that impressive. But maybe this is one that I'm sleeping on. I think this could definitely be the better star power after the update. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, it's just a little bit weird. And then finally, moving on to Rico's Hyper Buffy. So Rico's Hyper Buffy, his main attack shoots faster projectiles and more bullets as well. So as you can see here, I think it fires an extra couple of bullets. I didn't actually read it like an idiot, but yeah, I think I'm not really overall impressed with his hypercharge, mainly because I don't know, I feel like you mainly want to be like chaining your supers with this. I mean, it might help you chain more supers because of the more projectiles, which is, I guess, quite strong. But the hypercharge Buffy itself, I don't imagine being that good. I think just the extension might be pretty good as well. I imagine he's probably just going to stay B tier, like maximum A tier. I don't see a world where he's going to be S tier. I might eat my words if Robo Retreat is broken. But I just don't imagine it, because the removal of the reload gear as well is really going to hurt Rico. I don't see it. It's going to be much harder to defend yourself against assassins. Or I think that's not even the problem, because multiple launcher could probably work against like Edgar's and Miko's or whatever. It's the problem when he faces against a sniper or thrower. Like, you could just pick Sprout against Rico, you'll win every single time. It's ridiculous. I know he might be able to be very fast with Robo Retreat, but eventually you will kill him. So yeah, I don't think I think he might be one of the worst Buffy brawlers. So now moving on to Max's Buffies, starting off with Phase Shifter. Phase Shifter right now, the dash is much smaller, but now within this short period, you get 2 dashes in one, which is going to be very good into snipers. So you can just imagine Tensai on Shooting Star. There's a pipe. Just imagine there's a piper on the other side, and you've got this Phase Shifter. You could potentially tank 2 shots if you time it correctly. So I like the idea that the dash isn't too big as well. So again, imagine like Piper shoots you, you tank 1. Piper's again coming up, tank another, and look at the amount of space that you've just created there. You could also tank, I don't know, multiple big shots off other brawlers. You can tank like a nanny head, and then if there's another brawler coming, you can tank another shot. I think this gadget's going to be very, very strong. So next up, we've got Sneaky Sneakers. So I kind of like the rework, but I just still don't imagine how this is going to be that strong. Again, could be a fun one where it's just all of a sudden becomes really, really strong. So you see here, I'll take a little bit of damage, so I can actually activate it at any time now. And then when there's like an orb, so when I come back, anyone near my orb will also heal up as well for the amount of damage that I took within those 3 seconds. So I guess it's okay and adds a bit of versatility to Max, but I don't imagine it being that strong. Again, it could be pretty fun just for something like, at least it adds something to Max, right? Like you could probably, I don't know, pop this, pop hypercharge, make a really big play, then pop back, heal up a lot, but then you're also charging up a lot of the enemies. We'll have to wait and see, but I just don't imagine a world where Phase Shifter isn't better than this. So now we're going to be moving into the star power Supercharge. So it has been slightly reworked. You pop your super here, your teammates will gain a little shield as well, and every time you hit somebody with your main attack whilst you're in super, it will boost the time that your super is out for by 0.25 seconds every shot. So again, I'll try and showcase it here. So it still automatically charges your super as well. That wasn't in the description, but I guess, I don't know, maybe they added a few buffs to it. So again, we'll pop this super. It'll give affected teammates a little shield. Every time I hit a shot, if I can add a shot, I'm still fast, as you can see right here. So you could probably add like a full 2-3 seconds onto it. Well, probably around 2. If you hit all of your ammo, you could easily add like 3 seconds onto your super. So again, we pop this super onto Rosa, can hit quite a few shots onto the B. I'm still really, really fast here. Still got my super, still really fast. And that's a very long time. So I imagine this star power could actually be pretty useful. Moving on to Run and Gun then. So Run and Gun is pretty much exactly the same as Colt's Buffy with his star power. So every single time that you hit an attack with Max, you gain a short boost of speed, which is just insane with Max, because you think about it, like with Run and Gun, you're getting more ammo the more you move. You're going to constantly get these speed boosts. You're just constantly going to be cycling through super a lot more effectively. You're going to get even faster. Like, it is very, very strong. It doesn't stack though. I think there has been a change with some bugs where, yeah, the speed will definitely not stack. Just the fastest speed boost will be applied. But I imagine when you haven't got super, it's just really going to help in these 1v1 interactions. It's going to allow you to juke up and get more aggressive. Pair it with 2 gadgets. Yeah, Max is definitely back in the meta. So now moving into Max's hypercharge Buffy. So every time she hits somebody with a hypercharge main attack, she will charge up her and her teammates super 8%, which is kind of insane because you think about it, just her hypercharge itself charges up yours and your teammates super if you all stack in 1 point, and then you pair this with run and gun, you're just able to cycle through to super so much more effectively. So again, I'll showcase it here in a second. So I've just earned my hypercharge again here, so I'm just going to pop my hypercharge even with, well, I may as well pop it here. So I've already earned back my super, but I'm spamming my attack here. I've already got another one. I can't even, you know, apply another one by the time I've earned it, but it's just going to really help me and my teammates build up their super, especially my teammates, their super a lot more effectively. Imagine this paired with like a long charging super brawler that's really effective, literally like a Tara, for example. Just any brawler paired next, it's just going to be insane. So I think Max after this will pretty much be S tier. I mean, it's pretty much guaranteed at this point. Phase shifter with 2 abilities, yes. Maybe this one might be underrated. We'll have to test it out. Again, it's quite impossible to tell how it will play out. Both of these seem really, really good, by the way. I still think run and gun will be better just because of the reason why you use Max. It's just for more mobility, especially in 1 versus 1. And then the hypercharge Buffy seems insane. Everyone's just going to be getting supers. And I think literally because of this hypercharge Buffy, I think Max is going to be an easy S tier. Now moving on to Meg and her Buffies, starting off with Jolting Volt. So as you can see, she applies a healing station which will heal the teammates for, I think, 7% for 7 seconds. Oh no, I think it might be 10% for 7 seconds. And with the Buffy, it heals for an additional 2 seconds. The toolbox lasts for additional 2 seconds. So that's 9 seconds of healing, which is pretty effective. I mean, it's not anything crazy, but again, this is still pretty effective because, again, you can imagine you can just pop this behind a wall and, I mean, you can move with it, which is pretty insane. You can heal up a lot. And I imagine, especially if you're grouping up, like imagine this paired with like a Max, for example, it's going to be really, really hard to deal with. We have Meg's second gadget, which got a complete rework. Now she's literally Diva from Overwatch. So she can throw out her super. It can deal 1,600 damage. Well, it can hit someone and then deal 1,600 damage as well. And then after 4 seconds, I think this is thanks to the Buffy, you can fully charge up your super. So a lot of the time you might be thinking, well, if you throw out your super, you know, you're vulnerable. You're literally one of the weakest brawlers inside of the game. But after 4 seconds, you're literally able to get your super back. So I can imagine a lot of really good plays with this. Again, like I think it can push through, yeah, it can push through multiple brawlers as well. It leaves a damaging trail as well. I find this one to be pretty effective. I think this might be the better gadget, but both gadgets feel very strong. So now moving on to star power number 1, Force Field. This used to be the best star power ages ago, but with this one, when she exits out of her mech form, she gets a, I think, 20% movement speed buff and a 40% damage reduction shield for, what was that, like 4 or 5 seconds? That just really wasn't that much time. Again, I just don't really feel the power of this. Maybe if you're just completely like cycling through your supers, just throw it out your super constantly, this might be an effective gadget, star power, but I just don't really see too much point in it. So now moving over to star power number 2, which is Force Field. It has been completely reworked. So now with your main with your super with Meg, you will heal up for 1,200 with every swing, and with the Buffy you will also steal 1 ammo. So I can see you cycling through supers quite effectively here. As you can see, I've just got my swipe pretty much. I know I'm shooting against a bot, but I can still imagine, especially against some like big heavy tank comps, this can heal you up a lot. To be honest, this star power isn't the greatest, but it's definitely better than the other one. But yeah, I don't think it's too strong. So now moving on to Meg's Hyper Buffy, and I think this is where the main problem lies with Meg and why I think she's going to be pretty broken. So with the Hypercharge Buffy main attack, I mean, you've got the big swing anyways, right? But look at the main attack. It explodes as well, her main attack, with people around. Like, look at it. Like, look at that. The China chain reaction that you can get is absolutely insane. Like, absolutely insane. So again, like, I know I'm close to the bot, but just look at the amount of damage that I can probably deal against this bot. It is pretty nuts. It is pretty insane. The amount of like swipes I can cycle through. I could just imagine this hypercharge Buffy being very, very strong, especially because with Meg, you can actually cycle through to your hypercharges pretty fast. Yeah, I think it's going to be really good. And with a hypercharge super now, you saw in Brawl Talk, it was literally like a Gale's super. I think this has been nerfed. It doesn't look like it actually throws people back that far. I mean, that was pretty far, but nowhere near the amount of a Gale super. So just to bear that in mind. So to conclude with Meg then, I think it's going to be, again, another easy S tier. I mean, this is not the boldest prediction really to say that a Buffy Brawler is going to be very strong, but I think both gadgets are going to be very, very good. I can imagine in compositions again with like Max, who's going to be at the forefront of the meta, and other brawlers where you're grouping up. Jotting Bolt is going to be very good, but Toolbox can be very good aggressively if you're playing as a solo mech. Very, very good gadget in my opinion, especially with the Buffy, because you just get your super back after 4 seconds anyway. Would be very, very powerful. Again, both star power Buffies feel a bit meh, not really strongest, but heavy metal is going to be the better one. And then the hypercharge Buffy just seems absolutely done broken. So I think all of these things combined, easy S tier. So saving the best till last for the Buffies, Surge is easily going to be the best product in the game in my opinion. Just didn't want to break it straight away. But anyways, let's move on to his gadget Buffy. So his gadget Buffy will grant a 30% reload speed boost for the short duration of 5 seconds. And you'll get an increased supercharge. So I didn't actually show it off that well because I had my super automatically here. But if you see, once I pop the gadget now, I'll get an increased supercharge. You can see just how effective that can be. So say if I use my super onto someone, I can charge through, like that's literally the key interaction that changes right there. So you can jump onto somebody when you pop power surge, and then get your super back with 2 shots, which is pretty insane. So again, I'll pop it here. I can jump onto somebody. I can shoot 2 times, and then I have another super. So I think that buff that Surge received not too long ago probably did help him, especially with his power surge as well. So yeah, it's just going to get more supers frequently. The additional reload speed is going to be very nice as well, and just overall the reload speed, I think it's going to be a very good gadget. Next up, we've got gadget number 2. So with the gadget is completely the same, but with the Buffy, if you actually get hit by it within the 2 seconds, which most time you should, like normally the way to use it is you jump in with like no ammo, you pop your gadget here. You can see the gadget cooldown goes down to 9 seconds from 18 seconds. It gets cut in half, which is absolutely insane. So again, I could just go in here. I've used up all my ammo, pop my gadget. I know someone's definitely going to hit me. Oh, I've got it again in 9 seconds. This is kind of broken in my opinion. So now moving on to star power number 1, which is to the max. It has been reworked slightly, so now it can bounce off walls, as you can see right here, which is pretty powerful, which we'll see once he stacks up in levels and stages. So with his first level, it will split off into 2 projectiles, but that's still a lot of damage, right? Like look at that damage right it can deal at level 1. That is pretty insane. I know it's against the boss and it's not moving, but yeah, now we move on to our second level. We'll see here you get a bit of increased range, right? A bit of movement speed boost. So again, let's show off right here. It splits off into 3, which is still pretty effective. Think of Surge on release. It's very broken when his attacks split. So now let's go on to level 3. Let's see, just look at the range increase and just look how much area coverage you can get with the splits here. I think again, like it's not anything crazy damage, especially against this robot right here. But look, it's still going to be very, very annoying to deal with. Just the fact that it splits. Again, you get the negative that you won't keep your levels if you die, but once you get to your 3rd level with Surge, it feels like it might be impossible to push into him. So now we're going into our final level here, and let's just see how much it will split. So just against this wall right here, there's just, again, quite a lot of coverage, but it can just deal some insane damage. Like, I'm kind of scared of this. I am very scared of this, especially because, again, it's just a lot of, I don't know, versatility. Like, look at this. You can, like, wall peek around the wall with Surge. I have nightmares of Surge release. Like, I'm telling you, it's one of the most disgusting experiences ever because I used to trophy push around that time. It's going to be a very scary and a very strong star power, in my opinion. So now moving into Surge's star power Buffy's second one, Serve Ice Cold. So now it's been reworked. So you actually spawn with your super. You gain a... We don't actually gain the movement speed boost actually at stage 2. It's at stage 3 with the Buffy. So again here, hopefully we can get our next super. See here just how toxic it can be, and I mean against bots who have literally 0 input delay on the dev build, which will just delete me every single time. But I think the big problem here is that, okay, well, you still have to like use your super to go up a level, but the thing is, I think you might not be able to counter Surge anymore. Like, I'm being deadly serious, because with Surge, with an assassin, right, like, you know, but he has to hit 3 shots to gain his super, so you have that short amount of time to jump on him. But now, you know, against an Edgar won't be able to touch Surge ever, it feels like, because you can just hold on to your super. Yes, you are like limiting yourself and keeping yourself at stage 1, but I think that could be a very toxic. I get the idea with a rework. I do get it. Like, you still have to use a super to go up the level, but I don't know whether it might make Surge a bit too toxic. So now moving on to Surge's hypercharge. So both his hypercharge Buffy, well, his hypercharge has been reworked. So before it used to just split, but you can see here, so you see my normal super and now activate hypercharge, and look at the range on that thing. That is insane. So now when you land it as well, you'll shoot off some projectiles that will deal a little bit of damage. So yeah, I think that's going to be very strong. And then if we move on to his hypercharge Buffy, which I'll just gain in a second once I destroy most of these bots, it does double the but it shoots double the shots now. So I could just imagine this with powers with either gadget, because either gadget basically increases his reload speed. So here you pop the hypercharge here, and it just, look at the amount of projectiles it can shoot. Then I pop my gadget right here to give me a boost reload speed, and it'll be insane. You pair this with, like, he's just going to delete everything, guys. Like, I mean delete everything. So yeah, I just don't know how you're going to stop Surge with all of these, like, hypercharge. The hypercharge super as well. I thought it was going to be a bit of a nerf to his hypercharge itself, but just the range on that thing is insane. So again, I'm going to pop my gadget a little bit earlier this time, and you can just see, like, the spread, the amount of damage it can deal. It shoots double the attacks, which is just absolutely insane. And then you got the super that can just snipe people across the map. He's going to be disgustingly broken. So to go through Surge then, I think both of these gadgets are going to be very, very good. I think Power Shield will be the better one in my opinion, because you can get this gadget every 9 seconds effectively, as long as you're, like, kind of jumping in, you know, tanking a lot of damage. It's going to be very, very good. And then moving on to his star powers, I'm interested to see how it develops, because I think Max has some potential. I still feel like Serve Ice Cold might be the better competitive option, but I'm excited. I feel like Max could be better, guys. It could be better, but we got to try it. It's very risky to go it, but now because Surge has been buffed, so his level 1 is just faster as well, and Max actually might be viable now. So let's see. But it's the hypercharge Buffy, which is just disgustingly broken. I don't know why they haven't lowered the damage with the second attack. It makes no sense, because think of it with Crow. At least Crow's projectiles now would deal 40% less damage. I think with even Brock, it deals less damage with the additional, like, I don't understand what, like, it's completely broken. So I think Surge will easily be the best brawler inside of a game. He'll be just like Colette though. Like, you won't have the chance to play him in ranked or pro play. You won't be able to see him because he'll just be banned out every single time. So yeah, Surge is completely and utterly broken. Okay, so now we're going to be taking a look at the balance changes. We're going to be flying through quite a lot of these because some of them haven't really changed, but there has definitely been some changes as well. So keep an eye out for that. I will highlight it. Start off with Piper. Piper's damage, her main attack, is being buffed by 6%. And this feels pretty good. Piper has been pretty weak in the meta, so she needs this bit of extra damage. And her health is being buffed by 12% as well. So all in all, I think Piper will be a competitive option in Bounty and Knockout again, because she pretty much was D tier without these buffs. Mandy is next, and she's not receiving as much damage as once promised. Well, a couple of weeks ago, because things could be subject to change. So Mandy now, she was going to receive a damage buff to, I think, 3k damage, basically, which is just insane. They've now changed it to 2,800 damage, so an 8% buff to her main attack, which is pretty substantial, but she does need it because there's just so many brawlers with mobility and just can close her down so easily. She's like an F tier brawler without these buffs. And then her hard candy star power is still getting that 10% buff as well, which won't do anything, but the damage buff is nice. It's probably not enough to make too much of a difference though. So Gale is also having one of his buffs removed. So to begin with, his super damage is being buffed by 33%. Like before, from 1,200 to 1,600, which is quite substantial, but they've removed the supercharge gained from super. They were going to increase this from 110 to 120. That is being removed, I believe. I didn't see it in the notes. So he's not going to be able to cycle through supers like I probably thought he was going to, but he will be a nice tank counter option. Tara's main attack reload is still getting decreased as well. So this is going to be a 10% buff, which is going to be pretty nice because, again, Tara wasn't really being played much in competitive, in gem grab, in Brawl, in situations where you might see Tara being played. So 10% buff to her reload speed. These types of buffs have been very underrated in the past. I wouldn't be surprised to see Tara bump up a few tiers because of this buff. Shelly is receiving 2 buffs, and one of the buffs that she was going to get has been slightly tweaked. So it said in the previous iteration like a month ago that the star power shell shock, the potency would be increased and the super explosion radius would be increased. I think they've removed the super explosion radius increase, but they've added the potency. So basically her slow with that star power is going to go from 35% effectiveness of the slow to 50%, which is nice. It's a nice change. I don't actually like it too much when they increase the potency of the slow. It's just a little bit toxic, but with Shelly she has needed a bit of love, and her fast forward cooldown has gone from 20 seconds to 16 seconds, so I think this could make her a bit of a more viable option, but I still don't see her being too strong. Dynamite is next, and he's also having one of his buffs removed, which is his satchel charge cooldown. I was a little bit scared of this one. It's not going down from 23 seconds to 20 seconds anymore, but his reload speed buff is still in. So he's got a 13% buff to his reload speed. This is going to be very, very nice. Again, reload speed buffs are very, very underrated. He's just going to be able to get more damage out. That means cycling supers more effectively. He's going to be a lot easier to trap people in as well, seeing as he's a thrower. So I think this will leap Dynamite probably back into the B tier at least. Larry and Laurie are receiving some buffs as well, and these seem okay, but I don't think they'll really do all too much. So the twins are receiving a super damage boost. That's going from 300 damage to 400 damage, so a 33% buff sounds substantial, but I don't think he'll do all too much because I still think it's too easy to take them down, even though the super is receiving a buff as well. So going from 6,000 to 6,600 health, so a 10% buff as well. I think this might make Larry and Laurie a bit more viable, but I don't think it's going to make them better. He is still receiving both of his buffs, and it's to how fast his supers fly out, basically. His super projectile speed is getting 13% faster, so that just means it lands much quicker. It means you're guaranteed to get more damage. Some people might say it's a tiny bit of a nerf in a way, because then your aerial denial is a little bit less, because you think about, like, you get what I mean. But I think it will be an overall buff, because you're just able to put out more damage. But his hypercharged super projectile is also coming out 9% faster as well, so it just effectively means you'll be able to get more damage onto brawlers, probably rushing onto Barley. I think that's effectively what the buff's for. Normally with Barley, you want to use it to flush out the opponents, and then they can't get onto like the hot zone, for example, because there's a super there. But I think you'll be able to use your super more defensively and aggressively. Juju is still getting her buff, so Grigori is receiving a health buff from 7,200 to 8,000, so 11% buff. It's going to be pretty substantial. It's going to allow Grigori to tank like an extra shot. Again, is it going to make that much of a meta impact? Probably not, but it might make her at least viable on maps where she was good on in the past, because right now she's like D tier. So Gray is still receiving both his buffs. Also, just want to quickly point out that Charlie isn't receiving her damage buff, so yeah, that was probably going to break the game, honestly. Charlie would have been insane. But anyways, Gray is receiving his 2 buffs. Grand Piano will drop 40% quicker. Is it really going to do too much? Probably not, but at least it's a nice buff. Grand Piano has been pretty bad ever since it got nerfed from its release. It was broken on release. And then his main attack damage as well is being buffed up by 10%. So all in all, Gray's going to feel like he packs a bit more of a punch in his main attack. I don't know whether he needed a 10% buff to his main attack damage, but he had been falling off the meta a bit. We'll see. He definitely will be good again. Surge is still receiving his 2 balance changes even after all of his broken buffies. So if you were unaware, his movement speed at level 1 is buffed by 5%. I think this is a great buff, because I think we were heavily in discussion with Adrian before about it. And, you know, Surge's biggest problem before his buffies was he'd just get picked on at level 1. I think that kind of idea about him being super slow, it's just a bit outdated with just how many strong brawlers are on the meta, so that's nice. And then his level 2 speed has been reduced by 18% to compensate. So I don't know whether it was the right time to introduce this buff when he's getting his buffies. We'll have to see how it plays out. But yeah, Surge, like I said, he's going to be broken regardless. So next up, we have some buffs with Star Nova. And this is probably the only really balanced change where I'm a bit like, why has this happened? Because in pro play, Star Nova has started to become like a high A tier, S tier brawler in the meta pretty much. She's very powerful. And that is mainly because of her versatility. We know brawlers in draft, especially in pro play, like, in ladder, it's a lot different, because, you know, if you face off against multiple aggressive brawlers, you might not be able to deal with it with Star Nova, but in draft, you're always going to be able to create a composition which will allow Star Nova to just completely excel. And again, like, a lot of pros are just banning out Star Nova because of how strong she is. Anyways, her buffs, as you see in the health, is going up by 8%. It was actually going to be 7,800 health instead of 8,000, so they've actually buffed her health a little bit more. Again, I don't really understand it too much. Her main attack damage isn't being buffed though. It's great, that's being removed. Again, they're going to go with a 22%. main attack damage buff, which is just would have completely broke the game. She would have been easily the best brawler in the game. Her super main attack damage is being buffed by 10%, which I kind of agree with. I think it's balanced though. I think her super is balanced. I thought it's going to be a lot stronger upon release, so I can kind of see why they buffed it, but by 10%, same time, like, you gotta pick and choose your moments. Right now, probably now with the buff, you could probably just fly in no matter when and just deal a ton of damage. So yeah, not too sure on this buff personally. And then her heal star power is getting a 44% buff, which again, it is pretty terrible. It does deserve a buff. So honestly, I wouldn't have buffed Zarnova really at all. Maybe like a tiny health buff. I think these buffs are overkill. You know, you add on her hypercharge as well. I think she's going to be pretty strong. Buzz is receiving 2 buffs, and both to basically his supercharge rate and his hypercharge rate. So supercharge rate is being buffed by 4%, which just means he's going to get more supers, more times to fly around the map, more times to stun, defend himself, make aggressive plays, which is good because Buzz, again, hasn't really been that great of a brawler in the meta. He's only really used on maps like Pit Stop. And his hypercharge rate is going from 4 supers to 3.3 supers. So yeah, I think Buzz could be underrated. I don't think it's going to make like a big splash in the meta. No pun intended. But he's definitely going to be more of a counter pick option. Surely. Like, that's a big buff to him. Speaking of big buffs, Lou is receiving a big buff to his main attack projectile size. So I got this wrong last time. I thought his projectile speed was getting increased, but the projectile size is being increased by 20%. That is substantial. 20% buff to his main attack projectile size. You know what that means, right? Very obvious to state, but it means it's going to be easy to hit his shots. It means he's going to land more shots, build up more supers, get more hot zone time with that. I think Lou needed a slight buff, but again, 20% might feel a bit too strong. We'll see how this plays out. But this honestly could be a lot stronger than people realize. Next up, we have Carl. So Carl is still receiving his 11% main attack damage buff. So this is going to be great for Carl because he was starting to become like a D-tier brawler again. He just wasn't being picked in pro play. But now he probably will be played in like heist, in certain situations. I think this damage buff is probably going to be a lot stronger than people realize. Again, anything over, I'd say 6% to the main attack, it makes a big impact in 1v1 interaction. So I think he'll be at the top of the meta again. Pearl is still receiving her buff to her main attack. So before, the reason why this changes, so essentially her heat consumed per ammo is being reduced by 16%. That just means she's going to be able to stay high in heat and just deal more damage. The more heat she builds up, the more damage she deals, obviously. But it was because of her shield star power. Before her shield star power, you could use 2 pieces of ammo and still pretty much keep the shield. And then they changed some things about her. And then 1 piece of ammo, you'd lose the shield. So they've just done that to tweak that interaction. And the last buff is just basically a revert change. So essentially, if you guys didn't know, Ozzy had a bug where to do with his mark and he just dealt so much damage. And they nerfed his super damage to compensate for that whilst they tried to make a bug fix. They fixed the bug. They reverted it so his main attack deals the same amount of damage. Yeah, a bit boring. So now let's move on to the nerfs. So this meta, it needed a lot of nerfs to some of the meta brawlers. Starting off with Colette. Colette completely broke the game. She was so insane. Always banned out pro play. She's receiving 3 nerfs and one of them is being removed. So let's start with the ones that are still in. Nara cooldown 17 seconds to 22 seconds. Yep, it's completely broken. Probably would have changed the way what Nara does. I don't think it deserves to be 1 second still, but yeah, at least it's got a cooldown. Mass attacks damage reduction from super has gone from 75% to 60%, so she's going to be a bit more vulnerable. Her supercharge rate has gone from 4 to 5 hits, but at least her supercharge rate from super isn't getting nerfed as well. That's probably the big one, right? Like, at least you've still got that going for you if you're a Colette main. I still think Colette will be easily one of the best brawlers in the game. These nerfs just aren't enough, but there's some nerfs I'm grateful for. So next up, we probably got the biggest change to a brawler. So if you guys missed it, there was a lot of community outrage, which I can kind of understand, but at the same time, I just wanted Crow to be heavily nerfed. So what they've done is they've actually removed the main attack spread. If you guys didn't know, he was going to get a main attack spread by increased by 78%. So it's going to be a lot harder to hit all 3 of your daggers. I didn't mind it too much, but I kind of get, like, again, I get the community outrage because it changes the brawler's identity quite a lot, especially such a loved brawler. But they're adding 5 nerfs. So the first one is Buffy hypercharge attack. So the damage reduction from, so he shoots out the attack and then it flies back. It'll deal 40% less damage now. His main attack poison duration is going from 4 seconds to 3 seconds, so quite a big nerf. I still think it'll be pretty strong. His main attack reload speed is also getting nerfed. It's being nerfed by 14%, which is quite big. His health is also going down by 7%. And then his main attack damage is being increased, though. And it's being increased by quite a lot. So I was kind of happy reading through all of his nerfs, and then I saw this, and it's a 31% attack buff. Like, I know his poison's getting nerfed by a whole second, but that's a lot of damage. I don't... Will this even impact Crow that much? I probably don't think it will. Like, I really just want to see Crow's downfall. And I don't think we're going to see it in this update. Mortis is still receiving those 3 nerfs, and I still think Mortis will still be quite strong even after these. So, Combo Spinner is getting a cooldown from 15 seconds to 18 seconds. Combo Spinner bonus damage is going from 50% to 30%, so that just essentially means he won't be able to snipe as many people as he once could with this gadget. Again, I think this gadget does need bigger nerfs. It's such a powerful gadget. And then Creature of the Night is receiving a nerf, and I don't know why, because that's not the reason why it's strong. So yeah, I still think Mortis will be very strong. We've not touched his hypercharge rate. They've not touched his star power Buffy, the shield one. Yeah, he's still going to be S tier in my opinion. Leon is still receiving his nerf to Lollipop Drop, so the health is going from 3,000 to 2,000. 33% nerf. It just means that you're not going to be able to have a Lollipop drop up at all times. You can't just spam it out. It's still going to be a very strong gadget, but this is a change that was definitely needed. Chester is receiving those nerfs still. None of them have been removed, so his super explosion damage is being nerfed by 15%. The same with his hypercharge super explosion damage being nerfed by 15%. Candy Beans is being nerfed a little bit, so basically Candy Beans, when you got the damage boost, that's being nerfed to 20%. And then the reload speed boost with Candy Beans as well. So the red Chester, the reload speed boost that you gain is only 150% instead of 200%. So after all this, Chester should feel a little bit more manageable. I'm still a little bit annoyed about one nerf I probably still would have liked is the hypercharge poison damage. I still think that's too much. But yeah, these are good nerfs. Edgar is still receiving his nerfs, so Let's Fly cooldown is going from 14 seconds to 18 seconds. Fisticuffs Buffy, so when you take down a brawler, you get 30% of your health back. Now it's to 20%, so that means his super cycling will be a little bit less effective, but it'll still be pretty powerful. And then his hypercharge rate is going from 2.5 supers to 3 supers. So after all of these, I still think Edgar is going to be a very strong brawler, mainly because his hypercharge is still very powerful. But he'll have less super chaining potential. Mina is still getting both of her nerfs. So Windmill is going from 1.5 seconds to 1 second in duration, which is pretty nice. So you have to be a lot more reactive with it. And her last attack damage is going from 4,000 to 3,600. So a big nerf. I still foresee Mina being easily an 8-tier brawler inside of a meta. She's still a very strong brawler just because of how much pressure she can create. Ruffs is still receiving his nerf to his hypercharge rate. It's going from 2.2 supers to 2.5 supers. It just means that he's going to be able to provide a hypercharge treat a little bit less than before. Yeah, I mean, this is fine. This is definitely a nerf I wanted, but it's not going to impact him too much. Meeple is still receiving 2 nerfs and not an additional nerf, which I probably would have wanted to maybe his main attack damage or something. But anyways, his Rage Quit cooldown is getting increased by 2 seconds, and his Rage Quit radius is being decreased by 20%. I still don't think this is enough personally. He probably needed bigger nerfs to his gadget. Bid is still receiving his hypercharge rate nerf, going from 2.2 supers to 3 supers. So this will definitely impact the way that he chains. His hypercharge is very, very strong. I still think Shade will be very good. Lumi is still receiving both of her nerfs, both to her ice gadget. So the duration of the actual gadget, once you click it, before it was 3.9 seconds, now it's 3 seconds. And the gadget size is being decreased by 14 seconds. I don't actually think this is a big enough nerf. I mean, it's a good nerf. I think the data suggests that Lumi's healthy, but I think she's one of the best brawlers in the game, and she's still going to remain that. Niger is receiving 2 nerfs, and one of her nerfs are actually being removed, which is annoying because this is the nerf that she needed the most. So they're removing the nerf. So essentially her super damage on landing was 1,300, I believe. And we're going to nerf this by 40%, and they're removing it. So that was by far the most annoying thing about Nadia, because you could just fly out your super and it would just delete you before you could even do anything. Literally upon landing, it would delete you. So yeah, very annoying. But her supercharge rate has been reduced from super by 40%, and her hypercharge health, hypercharge snake health, sorry, has been nerfed by 25%. Now per hypercharge snake, it will be 3,000. So these are some nice nerfs. I don't think Niger is too toxic. I mean, a lot of people are complaining about it, to be fair. I think I would have just definitely done that first nerf. I don't know why they removed it. Both of Pierce's gadgets are still receiving nerfs. So Bottomless Mags is getting a 4-second cooldown nerf, and the Shield gadget is getting a 6-second cooldown nerf. So this is great. I think Pierce could have done with maybe a couple of smaller nerfs as well, but yeah, I mean, I can't complain about both of those. And the last nerf is with Bolt. So you're probably thinking, well, where is the Bolt nerf? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? He's getting quite a few. but I still think he's going to be very strong. So his main attack damage is going from 1,800 to 1,520, which is quite substantial, but yeah, his super damage is being increased from 1,100 to 1,400. His super charge from super is being decreased by a little bit as well, and his star power unstoppable, it's only going to make him immune for 1 second, but I still think this is a very broken mechanic, because essentially with Bolt, you're not going to get the full usage really out of the 4 seconds. I still think the star power itself is pretty broken. I don't think they really actually tweaked too much about Bolt. I think easily he's going to be one of the best brawlers in the game still. I think what they should have done is nerf the amount of speed you gain from the main attack, or just take more speed away from him. Yeah, he's still going to be very strong. So now moving on to the changes, and Ash is still getting his tank trait. It didn't show it in the patch notes, I think, but looked in game, it looks like it's still going to make it. So yeah, he's going to get the tank trait, and his hypercharge rate will be nerfed to compensate for that. So from 2 supers to 2.85 supers. So Ash is actually going to be viable in the meta again. So Spike is actually getting a few tweaks from the last set of balance changes that we saw. So Spike was going to receive a buff, which is going to take his damage to 1,200 with his main attack. And that was just completely insane. Yeah, what was that, like a 22% buff? But now it's being buffed, I think, back up to what it was before, if I'm correct, 1,080 damage. So that's pretty nice. His supercharge rate is being nerfed to compensate for that, because Spike was pretty toxic before with that damage. And then what they're adding is a star power fertilize buff. So that is going to increase healing from 50% to 75%. So yeah, Spike will be viable in the meta again for sure. Griff is receiving quite a few buffs, and some of them actually could make a big impact. So starting off with Coin Shower. I mean, his damage is going from 400 to 600, 50% buff. Not going to do anything. Yeah, actually, a lot of these aren't going to do a lot. Coin Shower duration is going from 5 seconds to 6 seconds. The Coin Shower cooldown is going from 20 seconds to 15 seconds. Yeah, all of these might do a little, but not really that much. Piggy Bank Explosion is getting a 17% nerf, which is great. And then Keep the Change will now fire 4 salvos, but at the same time as it takes 3. So before, people thought that Griff actually felt worse because it actually just took longer to unload his salvos. You know what salvos are? Just his coins, his row of coins. So now it's effectively, you're going to be able to fire out four sets of coins for the same speed it would take for free. So yeah, all you need to know is Griff's going to unload his stacks a lot quicker, and it's going to feel a lot nicer. And finally, for the balance changes, we have Damien. So Damien's super speakers will now break after the enemy hits, but to compensate, the super speaker damage will be buffed by 33%, and then his hypercharge damage is also being buffed by 50%. So I don't actually mind the buffs, because especially the hypercharge one, but at the same time, I don't think this is actually going to effectively nerf Damien that much. Maybe the meta around him might actually impact him, because there's going to be a lot of other strong brawlers in the meta, so it might bump him down a bit. I don't really see Damien being removed from the S tier. And finally, we're going to be talking about the hypercharges, starting off with Star Nova's hypercharge. Star Nova's hypercharge, it's kind of 2-in-1. When she dashes with a hypercharge super, she'll be invulnerable, and then she'll have unlimited ammo as well. So you press this hypercharge here, and then you super forward, you'll be invulnerable there to all incoming damage, which is pretty strong. And then she literally has unlimited ammo, which is insane. Absolutely insane. So if you want to know about her hypercharge rate as well, it takes 4 supers to get, so it's actually quite long. I feel like he might not even be able to get, I mean, he probably are actually, because with Star Nova, you cycle through 2 supers quite nicely once the game goes on. So again, with your hypercharge super, you could just deal so much damage. Like, look at this. It's just crazy, and especially if you have the other star power on as well, you're going to be ramping up damage so quickly. So yeah, I think this hypercharge is going to be very strong. The 4 supers to charge it up puts me off a little bit, but it looks very powerful. So now moving on to the last hypercharge, which is being added, is Bolt. So Bolt with his hypercharge super can just break every single wall, which is, yeah, very, very strong. I mean, the biggest downside is that it takes 3.3 supers to build up. That shouldn't really take him too long. But yeah, with Bolt, you think, right, with Bolt, you want the map to be as opened up as possible. Well, this hypercharge literally allows it. So in a second, once I build up my other hypercharge, we can probably try and stay at max. Does it take out? It does take off a little bit of his speed though, annoyingly enough. I mean, yeah, we'll see how it plays out in the real game. So I think it will be pretty powerful, especially because it takes less than 4 supers. So yeah, I think Bolt will still be a very powerful brawler. But that's going to be it for today's video, guys. Let me know what you think of all the balance changes and stuff in the comment section below. And yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.